Calaroga Shark Media.
A scary one involving Joe Rogan's comedy club in Austin. Hi, I'm Johnny Mack with your daily comedy news. KVUE reports a 35-year-old man from the Houston area is facing a felony charge after allegedly threatening to attack the comedy Mothership, that's Joe Rogan's club in Austin. According to an affidavit, the club security manager contacted the detective who holds the club's police security contract. The manager told that detective he'd been made aware of threats posted online against the club, which included threats to shoot up the club and bomb the comedy Mothership on a particular date. Club patrons emailed the club's manager expressing concern over the threats. The detective then looked at a screen-captured YouTube video in which the subject addressed the club directly and said that, quote, at any time, he would go blow that place up if he wants to, and that there's nothing that they can do about it. The video continues where the man allegedly says that he would walk in with a fully automatic assault rifle and mow everyone down, and there's nothing they could do about it at the Mothership. Boy, that's really terrifying. The man then listed his own address, threatening to kill anyone who showed up to his property. That made it easier for law enforcement to figure out where he lives. Switching gears, Adam Sandler, big fan of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Adam Sandler was on the New Heights podcast. That reminds me, I meant to download that episode. I'm doing that right now. Boy, is my phone full. I have so many things I have to listen to. I didn't even get to those Trevor Noah things I told you about the other day. Here it is, February 10th. Adam Sandler on favorite SNL moments, casting Travis in Happy Gilmore 2, and What the Waterboy something. Title's too long there, guys. Sandler is a fan of the romance and said, you guys being together? Like, yes. Sandler revealed that Taylor Swift holds an almost untouchable status in his home, especially among his daughters. Sandler said, somebody asked me, who do you get nervous around? I said, I do get nervous around Taylor Swift because I don't want to blow it for my kids and say something stupid. Yeah, you got to be careful around Taylor Swift. You say the wrong thing. She could destroy your career, Adam Sandler. You think I'm kidding? Listen to this innocuous joke made one time on the Golden Globes by Joe Coy.
As you know, we came on after a football doubleheader. The big difference between the Golden Globes and the NFL, on the Golden Globes, we have fewer camera shots of Taylor Swift. I swear.
Woo. Taylor did not like that. To suggest that people were looking at Taylor Swift, you don't want to take on Taylor Swift. No, be careful, Adam. Sam Morrell explained why he named his tour the Errors Tour, and he said, I was just ripping off Taylor Swift. Now, Sam, be careful. If Taylor finds out the name of your tour and doesn't like the name of your tour, she might get really mad at you. For example, one time Joe Coy told a joke about Taylor Swift. I don't know if you remember it from 30 seconds ago, but it's a great bit, so I'm going to play it for you.
On the Golden Globes, we have fewer camera shots of Taylor Swift.
Whew. You don't want to mess with Taylor Swift, Sam. Sam said, I was just ripping off Taylor Swift. It wasn't like I put a ton of thought into it. It was just like, what'll sell a couple extra tickets? I was just thinking of boyfriends lying to their girlfriends as a fun joke. Sam's been doing this 20 years now and talked about his evolution. I think you just try to evolve with the times, but also stay true to who you are. So you don't just evolve because that's what the world is doing. You want to grow as a human, but you want to stay true to your comedy roots. It's a weird balance, say it right? If you're completely the same your whole career, then the act doesn't grow and your style becomes predictable. When I was young, I thought anything had potential. So you lose a little bit of that, for lack of a better word, innocence, where you're like, I can make this funny. When you're older as a comic, you rule out a lot. You'll say, that premise is flawed, or this doesn't work because of this. You just become more tuned with what should work and what shouldn't work, and your swing gets shorter. For me, it's like playing basketball at the rec center or something, and you're like, oh man, I just did a lot of cardio, but it didn't feel like cardio because it was fun. It's kind of how I felt about comedy in those years. It was just really fun. There were bad nights for sure, and I knew they were bad, and I was aware that it sucked, but I also knew I was building towards something, or at least I hoped I was. Good stuff there. Variety did a big piece about Mindy Kaling. She spoke about the show Never Have I Ever, saying, I was like, as someone who has my own TV show and loves to act, how did I not act in the show about an Indian American family? It was going so good that I didn't want to jinx it by appearing in it, or it might be a distraction. Mindy's talking about possibly, perhaps, maybe appearing on season 4 of The Sex Lives of College Girls. She said, I could play an unhinged Latin professor. Knock wood if we go to season 4. That would be great. I watch that cast. That just makes me want to act. Mindy says she's pondering whether to write herself a part in a new series. I wouldn't have to be the lead in my own show if I was writing it. I'd love to write a show for someone amazing and then play a supporting part in it. She got a Hollywood Walk of Fame earlier in the month. It's like aging, where mentally I'm still 24 and a staff writer on The Office, but then it's, oh, actually I'm 45 and I've done these other things. Maybe it's from being a comedy writer, but it feels if you ever slow down and take a moment where you celebrate yourself or have any kind of self-reflection, something bad is going to happen. It's something to be mocked, like the worst kind of character on The Office or any of those other shows who take themselves too seriously. And she means the characters there, and I didn't read the sentence right. You get it. But part of being a good role model and a good human is actually being so grateful for this, for lack of a better phrase, just taking it in. Although I think I detest the phrase taking it in, I'm just going to be sincerely grateful for this star to whoever the shadowy committee is that decided I was worthy of a star. Behind the scenes, folks, you have to pay for those stars. So part of it is, hey, who can we get some money out of? They don't like just tell you show up on Tuesday, we'll give you a star. They're like, do you want a star? It costs this. Mindy said, the other thing so amazing about the star is the ceremony around it. You remember the image of a celebrity sitting in front of the star taking photos? I'm so excited for my kids to see it. I have awards, physical trophies, but this is one you have to visit. I'm Hindu, and we get cremated, so I'm not going to have a gravestone, so this is nice. There's a new Kim Kardashian commercial where Kim plays your fairy butt mother. I'm not interested in that subject at all. What I do find interesting is that the ad was written by Michelle Wolf. Apparently, Michelle Wolf was also the writer behind the 2023 ad, Ultimate Nipple Bra. All right, a few weeks ago, I told you a story about Natalie Cuomo going off on a heckler. It was a big deal on the interwebs. I've got an update here. Just to catch you up, in case you missed the initial story, Natalie's up there on stage. There's a guy in the front row who yells, "It's not my fault you don't have material. I can roast you too. You can't roast all of us and get nothing." Natalie kept it cool at first, then the guy kept going, and she yelled back, "There's so many people coming together to be supportive," and then shouted in the guy's face, "No, look me in the eyes. You're putting negative effing energy out there." So that's what went viral. In a social media clip, Natalie wrote, "Right after I said how grateful I was for everyone being there and selling out the show, this little man on the front row decided to let his true colors shine. Always stand up for yourself, and if you're going to be rude, at least have the decency to look me in the eyes." I also recently told you about the whole Peter Kay heckling thing. In case you missed that, Peter was at the Manchester Arena. There was one guy who kept yelling out, "Garlic bread," I think is the line. You kicked him out, and then there was somebody else who was annoying and kicked that person out too. Kay had defended the move, saying he'd done his best to address the situation and made light of it, as any comedian would, but unfortunately their interruptions continued. Some other comedians are weighing in now. Larry Dean told the BBC, "It's a really hard thing to do because no one wants to see a comic go serious. You feel like a teacher sometimes. It changes the atmosphere when a heckler goes too far. But it really is about gauging, do the people around me want to keep going?" Last year, Dean found himself the victim of the most brutal heckle ever. Larry overheard a woman talking to someone else in the audience and decided to ask if she was okay. The woman said, "My dad bought me these tickets because he's dying and he wanted me to have a laugh. We're not laughing. So I said to my pal, we're going to leave." Dean told the BBC, "Well, obviously I'm not going to make fun of that." He seemed so confused by the heckle that another audience member asked Larry, the comedian, if he was okay. Larry says, "Looking at it perspective-wise, Chris Rock and Peter Kay, who have the two most famous show interruptions for the past 2 years, they've had it easy. They need to get this woman to know what a heckle really is." He said his second worst heckle involved a man on the front row repeating the same whispered swear word at him so that only he could hear it. "I just had to ignore it." Larry says arenas are harder to play than a theater or a comedy club because the laughter goes up, but it doesn't come towards the stage. People say Peter Kay should have said this, but usually people who say that have never been on stage before and they don't know how hard it could be thinking that quickly in the moment about what the best thing for the show is, because you just want everyone to have a good time. Comedian Abby Clark says there's a difference between heckling and crowd work. With crowd work, a comedian is inviting it. You're asking a question. You're wanting a chat. And that's very different from somebody shouting out a random thing. Once is fine, or twice if the comedian stops engaging with you or says that's enough. Then at that point, you're ruining it. I've had hecklers who've interrupted multiple times, but if they're engaging, joining in with what you're saying and being positive, I don't mind that. It's quite fun. If they're just derailing the gig because they like the sound of their own voice, then I think you should check them all out. Garlic bread. There's not much you can do with that. Welsh comedian Paul Hilliard says, "Heckling's just part of the game. It's not fun, but it can be. I've always been taught you've got to play to the room. If it's chaotic, it doesn't matter if you've written the best 20 minutes ever. You've got to control that room of people who are intoxicated and show them that you're funnier. That's smart." There's a line, if you're ruining the show, that becomes the venue's problem, but it's our job as a comic to make that heckle part of the show, as that's where the magic is. What a pain in the neck for the performers. And this is all about feeding the social media beast because they don't want to burn material, so you're posting crowd work, and then people who don't know better think crowd work is heckling, and it's just, I feel bad for the comedians. You're just trying to do your act. That's your comedy news for today. If you enjoy the program, tell a friend about it. They might enjoy it too. See you tomorrow.